I'm Emily, and I grew up in a pretty ordinary family, or at least, it started that way. My dad died when I was just 7, a memory blurred with images of funerals and whispered conversations. My mom, crushed by grief, found solace in Paul, a man who brought not only a promise of new beginnings, but also his daughter, Clara, into our lives. From the get-go, Clara made sure our home felt more like a battleground than a sanctuary. She was 2 years younger, but acted as if the whole world owed her something. My stepdad treated me kindly, just like he did her, but Clara couldn't stand it. "I want what Emily has," was Clara's constant refrain. If I got a new dress, she wanted one just like it, if not better. Her 8th birthday had to outshine my quiet 10th, with a bash that seemed more fit for a wedding. If Paul praised me for my grades or chores, Clara would sulk and throw a fit until he reassured her with more compliments or another new toy. One afternoon, after Paul congratulated me on a school project, Clara's envy reached new heights. "Why do you always talk about Emily? What about my drawing? It's better, right?" Paul, trying to keep the peace, would quickly chime in, "Yes, darling, your artwork is wonderful too." But it wasn't just the tangible things she coveted. Clara wanted control over my social life too. As we got older, she began worming her way into my circle of friends. Her method was sly and destructive. She'd join us with a sweet smile, then later, I'd hear about the vile things she supposedly overheard me saying. Once, during high school, I caught her whispering to my best friend, Sarah. Curiosity piqued, I walked over just in time to catch the tail end of her deceit. "And then Emily called us all pathetic," Clara said, her eyes wide with mock surprise. Sarah, looking hurt and confused, turned to me. "Did you really say that, Emily?" I was stunned. "What? No, I never said anything like that." "Clara, why are you making stuff up?" Clara shrugged, a smirk playing on her lips as she watched the drama unfold. "I dunno, Emily, I just heard what I heard." The aftermath was brutal. One by one, my friends distanced themselves, leaving me to eat lunch alone. Clara, on the other hand, seemed to relish my isolation, her face lighting up each time she caught me wiping away tears. "Why are you doing this to me?" I finally confronted her one evening at home, my voice shaky with built-up frustration. "Because I can," Clara snapped back, her voice cold and sharp. "And because you always think you're better than me. But you're not. Now your friends see it too." Things took a turn for the worse when we started dating. While I was shy and a bit reserved, Clara was the complete opposite, bold, brash, and utterly shameless. It seemed every guy I developed a crush on, she set her sights on too, but not just to win them over. She wanted to prove she could take them from me, like collecting trophies. I remember the first time it happened. His name was Jake, a guy from my English class. He was funny, a bit nerdy, and I liked him. A lot. We'd started chatting, and I thought maybe, just maybe, he liked me too. One day, I decided to tell Clara about him, foolishly thinking she might offer sisterly advice. Instead, her eyes lit up with that familiar competitive glint. "Oh, Jake? Yeah, I know him. Cute, in a geeky sort of way," she remarked nonchalantly. "You think he likes you?" I nodded, feeling a flutter of excitement. "I think so. We've been talking a lot after class." A week later, I saw them together at the park. Clara, draped over him on a bench, was laughing loudly at something he said. She had copied my style, wearing the kind of clothes I wore, doing her hair like mine. It was unsettling. When she saw me, she gave me a wave, a triumphant smirk plastered on her face. I confronted her at home later that day. "Why are you doing this, Clara? I told you I liked him." She just shrugged, tossing her hair back. "What? We're just hanging out. Can't I make new friends?" "He's not just a friend to me, and you know it." I shot back, my voice rising with anger. "Look, Emily, maybe he just prefers someone more fun," Clara retorted, her voice sharp. "Someone who isn't so, dull." I stormed off, furious and heartbroken. It wasn't the last time Clara pulled a stunt like that. She always seemed to be where I was, only louder and more daring. I saw her a few times with older guys near the school, blatantly flirting. It was reckless, and it got her into trouble more than once. The worst incident was at a music concert we both attended. While I was there with friends, enjoying the music, Clara was having fun with several guys at once. Her antics caught the attention of not just the crowd but also the police. Later, I learned she was detained for indecent behavior. The whole ordeal was a mess. When she finally got home, after Paul had to go get her from the station, she was furious. Clara blamed me, of course. As soon as she stormed through the door, she was in my face, poking her finger at my chest. "This is your fault, Emily. If you hadn't been so stuck up, I wouldn't have had to make my own fun. You probably told Dad to check on me." "That's not true. I didn't even know you were in trouble until Dad left to pick you up," I defended myself, my patience wearing thin. "You're such a liar, Emily. You're just jealous, because I know how to have a good time and you don't." Clara yelled, her face red with anger. I didn't respond. Arguing with Clara was like talking to a brick wall. Instead, I retreated to my room, counting down the days until college. Each day felt like a year, each argument a reminder of why I needed to get away. The drive to the university was the first breath of fresh air I'd had in years. When I arrived on campus, the buzz of new beginnings was electric. My dorm room was small and plain, but to me, it was a castle. I spent the first evening unpacking, arranging everything just so, making the space mine. The next morning, I met my roommate, Liz. She burst into the room with a whirlwind of energy, her arms laden with posters and plants. "Hey, you must be Emily, right? This place is a cave, but we'll fix it." "Yeah, I'm Emily," I smiled, relieved by her friendly demeanor. "Love the enthusiasm. We need it, trust me. You'll see." Liz winked as she began decorating the room. "So, what's your story? Why here? Why this major?" I hesitated, not sure how much to share. Just needed a change, you know? Something new. I'm studying marketing. The first few weeks of classes were a blur of lectures, new faces, and endless socials. I joined a few clubs, attended group studies, and even went to a couple of parties. For the first time, I felt like I was part of something bigger, not just stuck in Clara's shadow. However, the real test came when I started making new friends. There was this nagging worry at the back of my mind: would history repeat itself? I remember talking to Liz about it one evening in our dorm. "You seem off, Em. What's up?" Liz asked, noticing my quiet mood as we sat with our books open, untouched. "It's stupid, but I'm just scared of getting too close to people. I've had issues before. Backstabbing, you know?" I confessed, tracing the edge of my textbook. "Look, Emily." Liz put her pen down, her expression serious. "You're not back there anymore. This is new, you're new. People here don't know your past. They see you, just you. And from what I've seen, you're pretty awesome." One evening, a few months into the semester, I met someone. His name was Max. He was in one of my marketing classes, and one thing led to another until we were spending quite a bit of time together. He was different, kind, funny, and he listened when I talked, really listened. One night, walking back from a late study session, he said, "You know, Emily, I really like spending time with you. You're different from the others." I blushed, tucking a stray hair behind my ear. "Thanks, Max. I like being with you too." It was simple, no games, no drama. Just two people enjoying each other's company. For the first time in a long time, I felt normal, like I wasn't just waiting for something bad to happen. I was living, really living. Max and I never turned into anything serious, but he was important because he taught me I could be loved without any games. After college, I felt like I had really started to understand who I was, especially in relationships. I landed a job at an advertising agency where I quickly made my mark. The work was challenging, but I thrived on the creativity and pace. It was during this time, at a bustling little cafe near the office, that I met Alex. He was the complete opposite of anyone I'd ever dated, charismatic, a bit reckless, and always ready with a joke. We hit it off from the first conversation, which had started with a simple debate over the best type of coffee. Espresso, no contest, Alex had declared, sliding into the seat across from me. I don't know, there's something about a latte that's just perfect, I countered, smiling at his immediate confidence. Oh, is that right? Guess I'll have to prove you wrong. He grinned, and just like that, we were wrapped up in each other. Our relationship developed quickly, though I kept it quiet. I wasn't ready to introduce him to the rest of my life, especially my family and, inevitably, Clara. But when Alex proposed, everything felt so right that I couldn't keep him a secret any longer. I said yes, enveloped in the joy of the moment, but a part of me was nervous about how to blend him into my complicated family dynamics. One evening, as we sat watching the sunset, I finally told him about Clara and our strained relationship. Clara sounds intense, Alex said, trying to keep the mood light, but I could tell he was concerned. She is. I just don't want what happened before to affect us, I admitted, feeling the old anxieties creeping back. Emily, listen to me. Alex took my hands in his. I love you. Whatever happens, we'll handle it together. Clara or no Clara, you're stuck with me. It was exactly what I needed to hear. We decided it was time to introduce him to my family. Dinner at my mom and Paul's place was tense for me, but Alex was a charm. Even Clara, who I watched like a hawk, was surprisingly pleasant. So, Alex, where do you work? Clara asked during dinner, her tone casual, but her eyes sharp. I'm over at Henderson and Chase, the marketing firm, Alex replied, unaware of the minefield he was navigating. Interesting. Clara smiled sweetly, but I caught the glint in her eye that I knew all too well. Despite my fears, the wedding planning moved forward without any issues. It was as if Clara had finally grown out of her old ways, or so I hoped. The wedding itself was a dream. I had never felt so beautiful and so utterly happy. The day was perfect, the ceremony went off without a hitch, and for once, I felt like I was truly the center of a positive, joyful moment. The initial glow of married life with Alex was bright, almost blinding. But as weeks turned into months, the sheen started to wear off, revealing some uncomfortable truths about my charming, carefree husband. Alex's relaxed attitude, which I once found endearing, began to grate on me. His carefree approach extended way beyond his personal style into how he handled our daily lives. He rarely helped around the house, leaving dishes piled in the sink and laundry forgotten in the dryer. Bills piled up on the counter, marked with past due notices that he dismissed with a shrug when I confronted him. Alex, we talked about this. You said you'd handle the electricity bill. I reminded him one evening as I picked up another reminder notice from the electric company. I know, he sighed, not looking up from the TV. I just forgot, babe. It slipped my mind. It's not just the bills. When was the last time you helped around here without me asking? I pressed, my frustration mounting. We'll talk about this later, okay? I'm watching the game now, he said, effectively shutting down the conversation. It wasn't just the chores and the bills. It was his entire attitude. Nights out with his friends became more frequent, and more than once, he didn't come home until the early morning hours, reeking of alcohol. When he did stay in, he was often too hungover to go to work the next day, calling in sick. Our arguments became routine. He would apologize, promise to change, and things would improve for a week or two. He started staying late at work, claiming he was putting in extra hours to make up for his shortcomings. I wanted to believe him, to believe that he was really trying to make things better. One day, I met with a friend for coffee, and as we chatted, she dropped a bombshell. So, I heard Clara got a new job. She's working at Henderson and Chase now. She casually mentioned, stirring her coffee. My heart stopped. That's Alex's company. I plastered on a smile, but my mind was racing. Alex hadn't mentioned a word about Clara being at his company. Knowing her, there was no way this was a coincidence. That evening, when Alex came home, I confronted him. "Why didn't you tell me Clara is working at your company?" He hesitated, a sure sign he was caught off guard. It didn't seem important, Em. It's not a big deal." "Not a big deal?" "Alex, everything about Clara is a big deal, and you know that," I exclaimed, my voice rising with every word. "I just didn't want to upset you. I know how you feel about her," he replied, attempting to soothe me, but his words felt hollow. I nodded slowly, processing his words, but doubt had already settled deep in my soul. The timing was too convenient, his late nights suddenly making a different kind of sense. It was a chilly Saturday morning when I decided to tackle the overdue task of deep cleaning our house. Alex had left early, mumbling something about meeting a friend, which by now didn't raise an eyebrow. The stillness was perfect for cleaning, or so I thought. Finally, I reached Alex's home office. He usually kept it locked, a private work-only area, but today, it was surprisingly ajar. Curiosity nudged me inside. The room was a mess, papers everywhere, empty coffee cups on the desk. It needed more than just cleaning, it needed an overhaul. As I started to sort through the papers to organize them, a manila envelope slipped from a stack and fell to the floor. It landed in such a way that its contents partially slid out, papers that looked more official than the usual bills and receipts. My hands trembled as I picked them up. Divorce papers. My name and his, unmistakable. And there, at the bottom of the last page, was Alex's signature. A cold wave of shock washed over me. Why were these here? Signed, no less. I sat on the edge of the desk, my mind racing. I hadn't seen this coming, not so concrete, so final. I needed answers, but not from Alex. Not yet. I decided to hire a private investigator. If my life was about to implode, I needed to know exactly why and gather evidence for the storm to come. That Monday, I met with Mr. Walters, a PI recommended by a friend who had gone through something similar. 2 weeks of agonizing wait later, Mr. Walters contacted me. "I have the information you requested. Can we meet at your earliest convenience?" his message read. We met at a small cafe downtown after my work. Mr. Walters was already there, a folder in front of him. "Mrs. Turner," he nodded, pushing the folder towards me. The evidence was damning. Photographs of Alex and Clara together, as lovers. Receipts from various casinos, and a list of debts accumulated under Alex's name, amounts that made my stomach turn. And there, amidst the financial chaos, were messages between Alex and Clara, their words a betrayal so deep it felt physical. "This can't be," I murmured, my voice trailing off as I sifted through the papers, each piece a strike to my heart. "I'm sorry for what you're going through," Mr. Walters said. "If you need further assistance or more evidence, just let me know." I nodded, barely able to speak, my mind a whirlwind of anger, betrayal, and heartache. I left the cafe with the folder tucked under my arm, a plan forming as I walked. Alex wasn't home when I arrived, but I knew where he might have gone. I took the signed divorce papers from his office. Then I called a taxi, giving the driver Clara's address. I pushed open the door to Clara's apartment. It wasn't locked, which was typical for her, always so carefree with her own security. The noise before I even saw them was enough, a mix of laughter and murmured words that felt like a punch to the gut. There they were, Alex and Clara, wrapped up in each other's arms on the couch. The room went silent as they noticed me. Alex's face drained of color, his eyes wide in shock, while Clara smirked at me, satisfaction radiating from her. "Really, Alex?" My voice was cold, more composed than I felt as I held out the divorce papers. "Looks like you won't be needing to explain this now." He stumbled up from the couch, papers fluttering to the floor between us. "Emily, this isn't what it looks like. I swear, I didn't want this. I love you. Save it, Alex." I cut him off, my eyes then shifting to Clara, who was still sitting, a triumphant look plastered across her face. "And you? I should have known." Clara stood, stepping closer, her grip tightening on Alex's arm. "He's with me, Emily. We wanted this. We've wanted this for so long," she said, her voice dripping with venom. Alex shook his head, his eyes darting between Clara and me. "Clara, no. I made a mistake. I don't want to be with you. Emily, I want to fix this. I signed these papers just to get Clara off my back." Clara's face twisted into a snarl. "Oh, you're such a liar, Alex. After all we've planned?" She turned to me, her voice raising. "He's lying, Emily. He told me he was done with you. He said." "Enough," I shouted, unable to listen to another word. "Both of you, just stop." Clara's eyes flashed with anger, but then she softened, a manipulative calmness taking over. "You know, Emily, I'm pregnant. And it's Alex's." Alex's face went white, his gaze flicking to Clara with a mix of confusion and horror. "What? Clara, we never talked about a baby. I don't care what you want now." Clara interrupted, turning her back on him to face me squarely. "See, Emily, you always had it so easy. Beautiful, successful, everything handed to you. I've always hated you for that. Always." I looked at Alex, who was watching the exchange, his expression torn. "We're done. I want compensation for your cheating and lies. And I will get it." Clara laughed, a harsh, bitter sound. "You don't love him, Emily. Not like I do. I'll pay all his debts. I want to be with him." Alex, suddenly realizing his opportunities, softened towards Clara. "Clara, babe, if you mean that about the debts. When can you?" "Of course, Alex," Clara said, all smiles now, clinging to his arm. "Let's get married soon. I'll handle everything." I couldn't stand another minute. Looking at them, I felt nothing but disgust. "You two deserve each other," I said quietly, my voice steady, despite the turmoil inside. Without another word, I turned and left the apartment, the sound of their distorted plans fading behind me. Stepping out into the cool air, I felt a profound sense of release. It was over. The divorce was messy and exhausting, but not without its victories. I demanded compensation for Alex's infidelities and the financial havoc he'd wreaked in my life. Predictably, Alex had no savings to speak of, his reckless lifestyle had seen to that. Instead, Clara paid off the compensation to keep him by her side. That money, tainted by deceit, I couldn't bear to keep for myself. I decided to donate every penny to a cause that mattered, helping children battling cancer. That decision led me to a charity dinner, an event teeming with philanthropists and kind-hearted souls, where I met Michael. "Your contribution tonight is incredible," Michael commented, his eyes reflecting genuine respect as we talked over dinner. "Thank you, but it's just money," I said, brushing off the compliment. "It's the doctors and volunteers here who are doing the real work." Our conversation flowed effortlessly from there, and soon, we began seeing each other outside of charity events. Michael was everything Alex wasn't: stable, mature, and utterly devoted. Meanwhile, life had taken a predictable turn for Clara and Alex. Mom kept me updated, though I wished she wouldn't. Clara had given birth to a child and was working harder than ever, while Alex continued his downward spiral, drinking excessively and barely working. One afternoon, while out for a walk, I spotted Alex with a new woman on his arm, laughing as they entered a bar. On a whim, I took out my phone and filmed them, a petty part of me needing to expose him further. I sent the video to Clara with a brief, "Looks like some things never change." The response was swift and venomous. Clara texted back, "You should mind your own business, Emily. Unlike you, I love my husband. I forgive him for everything and will never leave him." I stared at the message, a mix of anger and pity swirling inside me. How could she still stand by him, after everything? Michael proposed not long after that incident, in a quiet, intimate setting. It was everything I could have hoped for, no drama, just love. As we began planning our wedding, I made a conscious decision. Clara would not be invited. It was harsh, maybe, but necessary. Michael understood when I explained it to him one evening, as we looked over guest lists. You have to do what's best for you, Emily. Looking ahead, I felt a sense of peace. I was moving on, building a new life with a man I loved, supported by friends and a community that valued kindness and truth.